The following is a presentation of the BellyUpSports Media Network.
The ball sends it over to Edward Robles. Goal! Insert name FC! Let's go! Insert name FC! What is up, everybody? My name is Hector, host of the Insert Name FC podcast, a member of the BellyUpSports Media Network. You can find us on all things podcasting, Apple, Spotify, wherever there's a podcast version. There you can find us at Insert Name FC. You can also find us on video form. So in video format, we have like short clips that are made from these recordings to be a little bit digestible, and you can see my face, and I'll let you decide whether or not how you feel about that. But we're available on YouTube, so YouTube at Insert Name FC. The podcast full episode is also available there as well, but also short clips, shorter videos are a little bit more easier to digest, is also available on YouTube. And if you guys want to see another way to reach us out, as also at GolzTV, GolzTV, amazing site where you can find soccer content for anything that you want, whether it's MLS, international. You'll find it there from content creators, so people that are similar-minded to like myself, that just want to grow the game and give it the appreciation it deserves. Well, there you can see it there as well. So there's how you can watch us. Make sure you guys follow us on social media, on Instagram and X at InsertNameFC, and also on TikTok at insert.name.fc. That's another way you can find us as well. But yeah, this week is back to discussions. Like I said, we are going to talk about what happened with Olympique Lyon. We'll touch up a little bit more in details of what's going on over there. We're also going to talk about Sepp Blatter. Sepp Blatter wants to share some thoughts on what he thinks is going on with the game right now, and the controversy that comes from Christian Pulisic. Along with that, we're also going to preview the playoffs for Liga MX. By the time this episode drops, we should be having we should be kicking off with the first leg. Either first leg has already happened when you're listening to this, or it's about to start. We'll be starting that day, so we'll try to post it so that way it works along the lines with Liga MX. And of course, MLS Cup playoffs. Talk about what happened in the conference semifinals and preview the conference finals, the semifinals, if you will. Give you guys some players of the week and some games to look forward to this coming weekend, and wrap the show up. Pretty straightforward, man. This week's going to be a little bit different just because it is Thanksgiving this week here in the United States. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. So this episode is probably going to drop a little bit earlier because of that. Also because Liga MX kicks off. Don't expect me to like constantly be doing this. Just because so this episode will probably drop on Wednesday. That will probably be the goal for it to drop on Wednesday, just so for Thursday's sake, because Thursday will be Thanksgiving. But I don't expect to keep this trend, if that makes any sense. Or maybe I will just for Liga MX's sake. But we'll see. We'll get there when we get there, when we start talking the logistics of all that. But so this episode will come in a little bit sooner. Probably, like I said, maybe for the sake of Liga MX, probably have the episodes drop on Wednesday till the Liga MX playoffs is over. So we'll see how we go about it. But I think that would be the plan, at least to go into it. But yeah. So our reactions, headlines, Liga MX playoffs, and MLS Cup playoffs to talk about players of the week and games to watch. And that's it. That's going to be this episode 196. I can't believe we're here, but we are. So, with all that being said, we'll take a break and then we'll go right into overreactions. Let me tell you guys about BellyUpSports. BellyUpSports is the internet sports bar. Go ahead and check out their website, www.bellyupsports.com, to read some great articles from great writers all across the country, from hockey, baseball, golf, soccer, you name it. BellyUpSports is the premier, not your average website. All right, guys, overreactions, and I'm honestly not going to do an overreaction this week. I'm going to go ahead and take this time to congratulate the Orlando Pride for winning their first ever NWSL championship. Congratulations to the GOAT, Marta. So the NWSL championship, one thing for sure. Hands off to Kansas City. That's a beautiful stadium. I loved it. I loved the views of that stadium. It was a really good, overall, just a great job on NWSL. I think it was a great final. Hats off to Washington Spirit. I think they were a very formidable opponent, but Orlando, I think, just was able to lock it in defensively for sure. But yeah, 1-0 victory for Orlando Pride, and let's get into it, man. So Washington Spirit actually outshot the Orlando Pride 26 shots to 9. 5 of those shots being on target for Washington to Orlando's 3 shots on target. Possession was 58 in favor to Washington Spirit. So Washington definitely had probably fluctuated throughout the match, but it was definitely more towards Washington Spirit having the better possessions. Passing wise, also once again, Washington Spirit was very much the better team. Fouls, Orlando did have it on that 16-11. Yellow cards were showcased throughout the match. It was a total of 6 yellow cards, 4 of them being Washington Spirits and 2 being the Orlando Pride. But yes, this game had a lot of good moments, a lot of solid play in general. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed watching the performances from both these teams, and the goal being scored on the 37th minute by Orlando Pride. And I think that's the other thing you need to take from Orlando Pride. I mean, defensively, solid performance. I think everybody definitely came in and performed fairly well. I mean, Orlando Pride had 68% successful percentage when it came to tackles. I mean, keeper saves was total 5, 34 clearances, 3 interceptions, and 10 blocks. Once again, just a solid performance defensively on Orlando. Once they had that goal, they weren't looking to give up anything else. But in the 37-minute mark, the goal was scored by none other than Barbara Banda. And let me say this about Barbara Banda, man, because this is gonna be her moment in the sun, man. The 24-year-old from Zambia. This woman here, she is her, like 100%. She is her. I believe at the time when she was transferred, which was actually this year, she was signed to the Pride in the second highest transfer fee in women's football history, not just NWSL, like in the entire women's game, second highest transfer when she was brought in from Shanghai. So she was playing in Shanghai. I mean, if you guys want to know a little bit, going all the way back to 2016, she played with the Green Buffaloes, which I believe was from Zambia. She played back in her homeland of Zambia, then went to Logroño, which was in Spain. So she got her shine in Spain, then went to China to play for Shanghai, and Orlando Pride went and scooped her over. And I mean, a solid year for her, 22 appearances, 13 goals. And also since 2016 has been called up by her national team in Zambia, 63 appearances and 57 goals. So she's very much a great player. But a little bit about her upbringing, which I think is like the coolest part of it all. Before playing, I mean, she's always been playing soccer, growing up in Zambia. As a matter of fact, I believe a lot of it came, at least from her ball. Why she's like a clear baller, by the way, is the fact that she's been playing street soccer as a kid in Zambia. Her father also once played football and all that. So I mean, she played mostly with boys. Not saying that that's a difference maker, but especially growing up, the physicality of how boys played back in the day. So I definitely say she's very much knows how to hold her own, which I think definitely helped in her upbringing. But this is the other really cool part. So, you know, Barbara just decides to go into boxing at 14 years old, and when as an amateur, she went off into a just never losing a fight. And so to the point where the other amateur boxers were just not wanting to fight her. They didn't want the smoke. So because of that, she turned professional, and she fought in 5 professional boxing matches and won all 5 of them. And then she chose to hang it up and go right into playing soccer. And here she is now, having probably the all-time moment of being not only scoring the goal that wins you the NWSL Cup, but did get the notary that gets the award for NWSL Cup MVP. So great moment for her. That is just an amazing story overall. Like, great, beautiful story for her. Helps her team win their first ever. Orlando once again wins their first ever NWSL Cup, which, I mean, if you guys think of Orlando Pride, it's a big team, especially in the NWSL. A lot of names that are when you think of the Orlando Pride, and to see that they finally get their chance, their shine to win it is a really cool moment for her, for them as well. But on top of that, when speaking about GOATs, we are talking about Marta. Marta, iconic Brazilian legend in the women's game. I would argue maybe also just in football in general, a legend, has played for years, this game. I think you think of Marta, when you hear Marta, you know who we're talking about when it comes to football. She finally wins her cup, right? She finally wins the cup for the Orlando Pride, being the leader of this team, being the captain of this team. She talked about how this team has made her feel young every single day. But man, dude, like, if you want to talk about like just everybody's like dream moment scenario of like how you win a championship, like the fact that her mother has not been able to come to the United States since she's been playing in Orlando, and the first time her mother lands in the US of A and watches her play professionally in the US is the NWSL Cup final, and her mother gets to watch her lift the trophy. Like, you can't not romanticize about this game. Like, you can't say you don't love this game. Just a pure beautiful story. I love that. It's a real tearjerker. I did shed a tear. I'm not gonna lie. It's beautiful, man. We all want to play in front of our moms. I mean, we all, like, I'm sure we all, whenever we played whatever sport we played, you know, we all wanted to score as many points as we can for our mom. So I think that was so beautiful that her mom got to see her lift the trophy, and I think a great. Now, do I know? I think the rumors were that this was going to be Marta's last season, and if it is, what a send off. But let me see. I thought there was rumors of her retiring, but you never know, man. You never actually know. But I mean, if there's one way to do it, man, I mean that's definitely a way to go about it. A perfect ending for someone. Um, okay, so she is not retiring. I think she might be retired from Brazil. I think yeah, I think she announced her retirement internationally, but professionally, club wise, she will still keep going. I think her goal is to play two more seasons, so we'll see how that goes. But hey, the GOAT finally wins a cup, and I think it's great to have for her. Just a pure, just amazing moment. And to Washington Spirit, I mean, this isn't going to be the last time we see them here. Obviously they won it in Trini Rodman's first season, so I'm sure that they're going to be back for more NWSL Cup finals, and we'll see Trini Rodman lift more trophies in her career. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Orlando, just great defensive performance. solid job on their part. Overall, all in all, man, just a great game. I think a real chess match, trying to find how they can get through each other. And like I said, Orlando, once they got their goal in, they knew uh, they just had to lock it in, and they got it. They put in the shift and won the NWSL Cup. So congratulations to the Orlando Pride winning their first ever NWSL Cup. And for Marta, congratulations. And for Marta's mother, what a first trip to the US. So congratulations to that. But all right, man, headlines. All right. So we mentioned it in last episode, so we'll mention it right away. We'll kick things off with Olympique Lyon. So if you guys don't know, Olympique Lyon has received a provisional relegation for next season. So what does that mean? It means that Olympique Lyon must correct their financial situation, which we're talking about over $530 million in debt. They must get that situated, or else come the summer, they are going to be relegated into League Two. That is in fact the scenario that is being put on on Olympique Lyon. Along with that, they will be facing a transfer ban because obviously last thing they need to be doing is throwing more money onto their debt. So that was also another thing that was brought in. So while they're trying to correct their finances, they will be very much under the supervision of the DNGC, which is Direction Nationale du Contrôle de Gestion. Don't know what that means in English, but I'm sure this is like a financial correction control group, I'm guessing, to make sure that Olympique Lyon does not add more debt. At least that's what my understanding is. That so what does Olympique Lyon have to do? Well, they have to sell as many players as possible while also still trying to stay competitive. So if you guys don't know, Olympique Lyon is currently 5th place in Ligue 1. So that's going to be very defeating, right? If you're having a fairly respectable season, obviously it's not within the standards of Olympique Lyon. If you guys even know about Olympique Lyon or Ligue 1 in general, Olympique Lyon is one of the more successful teams in Ligue 1. But they're currently in 5th place. And I think this just kind of goes back to the fact of how many French clubs have really struggled throughout the years. I think Ligue 1 is not necessarily the most attracting league when it comes to the Power Five. Obviously when you talk about the Power Five leagues, the teams in Europe, the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, and of course Ligue 1. Kind of, and you've heard me and Edward at least a few times on this podcast where we're not entirely sure if Ligue 1 even deserves to be that 5th team in the Power Five. I still say they do, and that's because of PSG. And I think that kind of is also another reason why the French league has had its struggles, because of just PSG's dominance since being bought out by the Qatari group. It's made it very, very unappealing to any team, and obviously kind of similar to how Germany, where Bayern Munich was just dominating that league for years and years, and just buying players from that league to improve their team, kind of hindered a lot of the teams that were in the Bundesliga. You arguably can say the same thing that happened in Ligue 1. A lot of the French players, and I mean, obviously, everyone says Ligue 1 is the farmers' league, so a lot of the teams are, their players are getting plucked out to go play in Europe, and it's the never ongoing struggle, and so these teams just can't get anything consistent. And obviously, the easiest way to gain money is by winning matches, winning trophies, being appearances in big European competitions, and it's just not easy when you have a team that has so much money and can buy the best players to come play for their team, and they dominate the league for years and years. So, and like I said, this isn't just an Olympique Lyon issue. We've seen other teams actually fold because of, and I'm not saying PSG's fault is that, but I mean, Ligue 1 has had a lot of lack of coverage, and which led to why, McDonald's is now the sponsor for Ligue 1, but the money is just not flowing in Ligue 1, and you could probably argue maybe PSG doesn't help it, but other teams have also been impacted by it. We saw Bordeaux, dropped to the fourth division. They lost their pro status, because of the lack of finances that they had. And Bordeaux, also a team that has success in Liga, is no longer near it. They're now a pro amateur team. So it's one of those things that just happens, and I think Saint Etienne was another one, but they ended up finding a buyer to help support their club. So it's just one of those things that it piles on, right? It just continues to pile on, and Olympique Lyon, unfortunately, is one of the teams that is now getting impacted by same kind of similar issues. They do have some players worth a note, and there has been a lot of teams that are looking to take advantage of the fire sale that is Olympique Lyon. But the question will be for Olympique Lyon, can they afford to lose this player? And obviously, the money that's going to come from it is going to be beneficial for them by all means. But at the same time, like, if they lose some important players, that can impact them from, end up being relegated. So it is definitely a really tough spot at catch-22 for Olympique Lyon, where they had to kind of really dig deep and understand, like, can this player go and we won't be hurt? And I mean, one thing about Olympique Lyon, and I think a lot of people maybe don't think about it now, but obviously a lot of big names came from that club. Hugo Lloris is a name, Karim Benzema, Tolisso. Like I said, a lot of names come from there. I know Cherki is a name that a lot of teams are interested in as well. But yeah, Olympique Lyon has a really good academy. Maybe not as notarized as Ajax and Barcelona is, but very much up there, especially when you think of the names that have come out of Olympique Lyon over the years. There's a lot of Olympique Lyon influence across the world of football. So I think they have at least that in their arsenal, that maybe they have the next big player. But yeah, it's unfortunate for Lyon. I think especially when you're in the position where you're in now, where you're doing fairly well. Last year, it was a completely different story. But I think this season now you want to stay afloat because you're being competitive at least. And now that you're getting hit with this bomb, the pressure is now, who can we afford to lose? Because they gotta find a way to drop this 530 million debt. And so we'll see how it gets there, what they do to get there, to stay in Ligue 1, and hopefully what they have to do will at least not hurt them enough to where they stay in Ligue 1. So they're not relegated just yet, but it is a team that's a lot of people are gonna have a lot of eyes on, because of the fact that those players aren't gonna want to stay and be in League 2. Like, there's gonna be players that there's players that are loyal. I'm not saying that there isn't, but not everybody is gonna be patient enough. So we'll see what happens there, man. So I'm pulling for you. Leon. But all right. Hey guys, this is Hector from the Insert Name FC podcast, here to tell you guys about Canadips. It is a great tasting, superior alternative to traditional dip, using CBD in a way that is radical, enjoyable, and effective. It comes in 5 core flavors: wintergreen, mint, citrus, mango, and American spice. Canadips CBD is the new evolution in dip, allowing guys to enjoy great, long-lasting taste without the downsides. If you guys want to go ahead and try them out, use the code BellyUp20 at CanadipCBD.com. Once again, BellyUp20 at CanadipCBD.com, and you'll get yourself 20% off your purchase. Thank you again for Canadips for being a great partner of BellyUpSports. Next headline, Sepp Blatter. So the former FIFA president admits that the football is going in the wrong direction. It's very ironic that he's the one saying this, because of the fact that he's kind of at fault to this. But we'll go down. We'll break down the quotes that he has, and I mean, FIFA is definitely kind of in a situation where I think they just aren't reading the room. I think you've had players that are constantly complaining about that they're playing too many games, and FIFA's solution is just adding more games. Instead of listening to the players and listening to their frustrations, they're making things worse. And I mean, prime examples, the FIFA Club World Cup, which I have been very critical of from the jump, because once again, there's just too many questions, not enough answers of how this tournament is going to work. And until then, there's still going to be questions and no answers. And we'll see how that goes. But we'll start with the first quote. I created a monster. FIFA was poor when I started. There was a director and development programs in 1975. Sponsors like Adidas didn't pay any money. They just gave balls and shirts. The first sponsorship deal that really brought in money was the one with Coca-Cola in 1976. Then there was public television, which suddenly allowed advertising. Football became a super product for television, a super show that could be sold for a lot of money. The first World Cup that really brought in money was the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. When Gianni Infantino became president in 2016, he sat in a ready-made nest. The money machine was running. Now he is fueling it more and more. I mean, there was a point where, and I think this is in all sports in general, not everybody was really profiting off of sport. And then it wasn't until, people started seeing the value of the advertising value of what this sport can bring, and sports can bring, is where now it is where it is. I think, everybody knows the World Cup, but as it got more and more commercialized, and I guess 2010 would be the pinnacle, because now you have not only television, but you have social media now being more prominent, especially in that time. So, it makes a lot of sense. Now, I will say Gianni Infantino did come, when he came in as president, obviously it was after all the drama that Sepp Blatter himself put them in. But, his job was to try to ride the ship, fix what he could fix, even though FIFA already is as corrupt as it can be, but try to make it to seem where they aren't fully the bad guys, if that makes any sense. And I think that's what he's talking about, like where when Infantino took over, the nest was already made and the money was already coming in. So all he had to try to do was, how do I make more money that they're already gaining? And so I get where he's going. We are witnessing the sellout of football. Take the European Association, UEFA. There used to be a cup for the champions, one for the cup winners, and another for the trade fair cities. Today is a Champions League with 36 teams, an Europa League with 36, a Conference League with 36, and then there is the Nations League. I mean, I think, at least in my interpretation from that quote, is yes, the Champions League is completely different from what it was years ago. The expansion of an Europa League and the Conference League was obviously money driven. Was how can we showcase more teams and make this competition, make it more grander? And I think adding the Champions League, adding the Europa League, and even the Conference League has done that, right? Because, I mean, Champions League, you're looking to see the best of the best compete against each other. Europa League maybe looks as like a secondary tournament, but, for certain teams, like that, this is like, that doesn't necessarily get a real chance at a Champions League spot. For them, this is another chance to get some of that away from money. And then the Conference League is even, we got to see Olympiacos lift that cup, right, last season. It brings something to the people that maybe never felt that they had a seat in the table. And so I think I do value those things. The expansion obviously was coming from the pressure that came from the European Super League, because essentially this 36 team format, the table format, that comes from the Super League. That was what the Super League wanted to do. So So I get all those things. I think that was their way to like avoid teams from complaining enough. So they're like, here, there's the format. We're gonna use this format. So you stop trying to like use these scare tactics for for the Super League. And so I get that part. Now the Nations League, I'm very 50-50 with it. Because the thing is with me for the international break, while friendlies are cool and all, it I just didn't see the point to like I don't have to always call up Christian Pulisic if we're doing just friendlies. Like I already know Christian Pulisic will be fine. Come tournament time, he'll do his thing. So like for friendlies, like I get it, but like Nations League, I think it was to make the international break mean something. Like they're not just playing our friendly just to play. Because the thing is also like we're risking injuries. It's another team, and it's I think once again it's that battle between club and country, right? Where my player gets hurt for playing a friendly. Like for instance, the big example, at least for recent, especially if you're a US fan, is what happened with Christian Pulisic getting sent back to AC Milan instead of playing the friendly against Mexico. Once again, it's a friendly, so it doesn't harm the US per se. It really doesn't. I mean, yes, there's bragging rights because it's a rivalry, but once again, like if Christian Pulisic were to get hurt, now AC Milan loses their informed player, right? Because Christian Pulisic, at least this season, has been very crucial for AC Milan. And so if they lose their star player over a friendly, it's one of those things that now like, hey, we're just not gonna let you guys call him up, like no more. And then now the US lose their best player, so it's a very like touchy subject. So I think with the Nations League, at least the games mean something for the national team where you can make a valid argument to those clubs where, hey, we do need him for this tournament. And I think obviously prime example was when we saw them play. Obviously Christian Pulisic played both matches in the Nations League against Jamaica. Why? Because it's Nations League. It's an actual tournament. There's an award if you win the Nations League. There's money if you win the Nations League. So it's not a useless tournament, if you will. And so I think that's the important part of it all. So I don't necessarily see the Nations League as a bad thing, but I also can see why people don't like the Nations League because it's just another tournament, but it doesn't affect anything because it's being played on the international breaks that we get anyways. So that's my whole other thing. But continue on. 48 countries are already taking part in the next World Cup in 2026, which is almost a quarter of all FIFA member countries. In addition, from 2025, there will be a FIFA Club World Cup with 32 teams. Everyone applauds there is a lot of money, but this oversaturation is leading to a dwindling interest in football. I noticed that myself. Quo vadis football. All right, now I have no idea what Quo vadis is, so I'm going to look that up. I think that's Latin. I mean, it has to be Latin. Quo vadis. Okay, Quo vadis meaning. Okay, so it means where are you going? Where are you going, football? I don't think the 48 country World Cup is a bad thing. I mean, I think the expanded World Cup is fine. That's not my main concern. My concern is the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup. Now I think that's the part where the oversaturation is. You're gonna play in the World Cup. There's no player in the world that would say, "Oh no, man, I gotta play the World Cup." No one's gonna say that. It only happens every 4 years. This is like the one thing that everyone wants to win, to represent your country and be able to say you're the best of the best in the world is what everybody wants to be able to do. So no, I don't think the World Cup is oversaturation. I think the FIFA Club World Cup is oversaturation because no offense to the FIFA Club World Cup, but I viewed it as a preseason tournament, at least initially because of just like what it was. It wasn't necessarily that had the hyper appeal, but obviously they're trying to make something out of it. But the issue is that it's just feeling rushed. I compared it to Firefest already. And it's clearly a money grab. And the problem is right now, especially now, that no one seems to really want to throw a lot of money for the broadcasting rights. Apple TV has offered $1 billion, and FIFA feels that they should get four times more. But that's the problem, is that everyone views it a quarter of what FIFA values it. And so I think that's where the oversaturation is, because that's where it's too much football. Once again, and then for the players, it's too much football for them as well. The World Cup is a different thing because that's a tradition. It happens every 4 years. It's not like they're going to do the World Cup every year. It's not like they're doing the World Cup every 2 years. It's every 4 years this event happens. And so I think that that's a little bit different. I don't think the 48 country thing is bad. I think it opens up for more opportunities, more upsets, opportunities for different countries. Me and Hector have said it. We have a shot. El Salvador has a shot now. El Salvador has a shot at being in the World Cup. And I'm gonna be crying like a baby if they make the World Cup. So yes, I don't think that's oversaturated. I do agree with the FIFA Club World Cup. It is very much oversaturated. And yes, where are you, football? I think it's a good, and it is going to dwindle the interest. The FIFA Club World Cup will dwindle interest, in my opinion. Especially because the ticket prices, and I'll say that though, maybe the ticket prices is going to be wild. Ticket prices are going to be wild for the FIFA Club World Cup, and then for the World Cup here in the US, it's going to be ridiculous ticket prices. So that might be the issue, but we'll continue on. Almost everywhere is going in the wrong direction at the moment. Tickets are getting more and more expensive. Okay. With increasing commercialization, there is more violence at all levels, on and off the field, instead of remaining what it was, a socioculture asset, a place where you learn to win but also lose. Football is increasingly becoming a battlefield in every respect. I don't know exactly what that means, but I know the ticket prices have gotten weird. Obviously, we saw what happened when CONMEBOL came to wanted the U.S. to host Copa America. You have fans like trying to sneak into the stadium. Well, not trying, they actually did sneak into the stadium, which added a big controversy to the U.S. if they're capable of hosting the World Cup. But I think I agree to some extent. I think the ticket prices are going to be ridiculously expensive for the World Cup. I think commercialization is just going to be a thing. It's always going to be a thing. I don't think that's going to change anything. The violence part, I have no idea what he means by that. Maybe from people trying to sneak in, but I don't know. I don't know where he went with that part. Socioculture asset. I don't know what the fuck that means either, but where you learn to win, but also to lose. I don't know where he's going with this. This is where you lose me. This is where Sepp Blatter really loses me, because the fact that you're the reason why it's like this now. Don't and I mean he did start with saying I created a monster. So it is wherever you think it is now, it's because of you. It's because you made FIFA corrupt. You allowed the Qatar World Cup is all on Sepp Blatter's hands. The horror stories that we heard about, South Africa, people dying building those stadiums, but I mean that's just construction. I know in general, but still, and I'm not saying that South Africa was necessarily corrupt. I mean, there's corruption in all levels of it, but now where it gets to this ridiculousness with the FIFA World Cup, where now you have the next. You don't complain about the 2026 World Cup, because at least it makes some sense, because Canada, USA, and Mexico are hosting. The continent of North America is hosting it, so they're all in the same general area. Whereas the next World Cup, which is supposed to be Morocco, Spain, and Portugal, but you're going to have the opening matches played in Argentina, Uruguay. I don't know if it was Paraguay or what was the other, or Chile, Uruguay, Argentina, and Chile. But played over there. If you wanted to do that, have them host the World Cup, and then the following year let it be Portugal, Spain, and I don't know why Morocco, but okay, Morocco. Like if you really want to put any Sepp Blatter, you're the reason why it got to this point. And I think obviously he took ownership to it. I'm not saying that he's not, but I mean at the end of the day, like this is all here because of you. If you would have not tried to get that little sneak money, maybe there would be a standard in this. Maybe it would have been stricter rules if you were to. But you caused the slope. You let the thing slide. And that's why the game is where it is. When it became this money grab. You're the reason why teams want more money. You're the reason why the FIFA the Super League was even a thought. Was because all the clubs were like, I'm doing all this for pennies. Where I see you guys that are supposed to be these nonprofits are getting more profits than more than anybody else. I want my piece of the pie, and that's why the Super League came to be. So, Sepp Blatter, yes, you so hardly created a monster, and maybe that's the violence he's meaning on. But because I don't know what the hell he meant about that, but you made it happen. You created the monster, and yeah. I agree to some things that he says. I'm glad he's taking ownership to it. But yes, I do agree. The game is going in the wrong direction. Not because of money. Well, I mean, money does play a factor into it. But yes, I agree with Sepp Blatter. He created a monster. All right. The last headline. Christian Pulisic. So, guys were living under a rock, or probably don't know anything about the U.S.'s political world, which this is not. I'm never gonna get in. Just don't worry. No, I'm not gonna get political in this podcast. I refuse to get political. I don't care. Okay. Before I get into this, I'll say. I guess I'll just let it be known. My thoughts. This will be the only time you ever hear me speak on any of this material. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're a Democrat. You support who you support. Period. I don't judge people off of who they believe. I don't on who they voted for, nor for their beliefs. If you are my friend, you are my friend. Not because of your political views, not because we view things similarly. It's because we have just some genuine connection that I immediately said, hey, you're my friend. And no matter what, you're always going to be my friend. We can always disagree. That's what makes us human. But I will never, ever tell you you're no longer my friend over a political view. We can agree to disagree. Now, if you don't like that that's how I feel, then I apologize, but that hurts me. That if I can look past that, but you can't, and you're willing to lose a friendship over that. And maybe that's one way of me finding out who my real friends are. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to tell you guys who I voted for. I refuse to tell anybody that information because that's a person. Once again, now it seems that no one is capable of being able to be human and grown up and just accepting that that's who someone voted for. The results of the presidential election are the results of the presidential election. That's it. That's it. All right. Do I care who won? Not really. Am I mad that the country have voted who they voted for? No. Would I have been mad if he wasn't voted for? No. Because at the end of the day, that's who the country voted for. Whether it would have been, the Cheeto Puff or Kamala, that's who the nation voted for. I will respect the vote, and we'll move on from there. However our world goes, but the reason why I say I don't care is because at the end of the day, I still got to go to work. I still got to pay my bills. I still got to take care of my family. And whoever's the president of the United States isn't going to change that for me. It never had, and it never will. So that's how I feel. Once again, if you're someone that matters, who was voted in, and you guys aren't happy with the result, I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, that's the result. But all right, so Christian Pulisic, during the international break, when they played against Jamaica, when they were actually here in the U.S., Christian Pulisic scored a goal, and when his celebration to score the goal was the quote-unquote Trump dance. And if you guys aren't familiar with the Trump dance, it's just basically like a weird motion of the hands. It's like an old man dance. It's literally what it is. But obviously Donald Trump did it, and it became sort of like a social media phenomenon, I guess would be the word to use, the phrase to use. And as a matter of fact, that celebration has been done across sports, from Brock Bowers of the Las Vegas Raiders to John Jones of the UFC. But Christian Pulisic goes ahead and does the goal celebration, and an uproar happened. I'm not going to say everybody. Some people thought it was funny. I thought it was funny. Some people thought it was inappropriate. Some people think it is not appropriate for Christian Pulisic to replicate a dance done by the President of the United States, Donald Trump. And once again, it goes back to people. I think, obviously, if you found it funny, you probably more than likely voted for him, or you don't care, like me. And if you don't like it, it's probably because you don't like the Cheeto Puff. So, and obviously people have made the argument like, well, Megan Rapinoe, she's been very active, in politics, sharing her political views for a long time. And everyone says, oh, that's different. You're right. It is different. Because she was speaking on things that mattered to you. That's why. That's why you're not mad when she does it. I've never seen anybody on the other side. I'm sure some people don't like her. Respectively, I'm sure people don't like her. I'm sure for a fact that there's some people on the right that don't like her. But just like there's people on the left that don't like Christian Pulisic now because he did the dance. And it's just a dance. Tim Howard, he said something. He actually spoke on it. On the Christian Pulisic dance. Yeah, I should have probably got this quote, but he actually condemned Christian Pulisic. Well, he said he had some things to do. All right, so here's the quote. Well, obviously that's the Trump dance. It was just a dance that everyone's doing. He's the one who created it. I just thought, okay, well, this is actually from Christian Pulisic. This is a quote from Christian Pulisic. Well, obviously it's the Trump dance. It was just a dance that everyone's doing. He's one that created it. I just thought it was funny. I saw everyone doing it yesterday in the NFL. I saw John Jones do it. We're just having a bit of fun. So I thought it'd be a pretty funny dance. So then the press ended up asking if he endorsed Trump. He's like, no, not at all. It's not a political dance. It was just for fun. Saw a bunch of people do it. I thought it was funny, so I enjoyed it. I hope some people did at least. the thing is like, all right, does anyone think John Jones is a Trump supporter? Does anybody think Brock Bowers is a Trump supporter? I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows unless people know those guys personally, if they voted for Donald Trump or not, but they did the celebration. They probably saw him do the dance. They thought it was funny and decided that I'm gonna do that if I have a good moment. And I think the same thing happens. It's just the trend. It's the same thing as Tebowing. It's the same thing as doing the nay. Like it's just like you saw it, like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm gonna do that whenever I make a big play or something. So, like I said, I don't think it's political. I just think it's just the trend. It's the trend. That's all it is. It's a trend that people decide to do. It just so happens that it's a person that people don't are very conflicted with. Are they you either like Donald Trump or you hate him. There's like really no in between unless you're talking to me, because I frankly don't care. I don't care. I don't care that he's president. I don't care who he is. All I know is that he is now the U.S. president. Whether I agree or not, he's the president of the United States for the next 4 years. And that's it. That's how you accept it and you move on. Because once again, at the end of the day, I got to pay my bills. I got to go to work. I got to take care of myself and my family. That's what I care about. And Donald Trump isn't going to do that for me. So that's why I'm saying that. But once again. But all right. Here's what Tim Howard. Here's my personal view. Doing a dance that mimics Donald Trump is stupid. Why? Because whether it's the president of the United States or my neighbor down the street, I would never back someone who I believe is racist. I wouldn't glorify that. I wouldn't do it for anything. If someone feels strongly the other way, no problem. But if you're going to make a political statement, then be bold and brash enough to stand behind it. Don't go quiet and don't plead innocence like Christian Pulisic. Oh my God, dude. I don't think it's a political statement. I don't think it's political. It's just a trend. It's just a dance. I'm sure if you swipe through TikTok or anything, you're going to see people doing the dance. Like, it's not a matter if I'm Republican or not, like Republican or Democratic or whatever party you choose to vote for. It's just a trend. It's just a new trend thing that everyone does now. And I think this goes back to, like, we gotta stop making celebrities public figures, political figures. Not everybody that's on a TV needs to have a political view, or do I care to hear their political view? I don't care who Christian Pulisic voted for. I don't care who John Jones voted for. I don't care I don't care who Tim Howard voted for. I just don't. I frankly don't care. We have to stop making celebrities, influencers, whatever. Stop trying to make them as political figures, because they're not. They're just not. Okay? And maybe some may argue that Donald Trump is technically a celebrity, but I don't really view him that way. He just had a reality show and was on Home Alone 2 and some other TV shows, but I don't view him as a celebrity. I always just viewed him as some businessman, had some failed ventures, he's your typical entrepreneur. Some things work, some things didn't. But he's the president. At the end of the day, there's no changing it. That guy's your president, whether you like it or not. But my problem is that stop looking at celebrities, athletes. Stop looking at them and expecting to hear something political. Or I don't care for their political view. I just don't. I don't want, like, I've always said, like, if you have a firm belief in something, then speak on it. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with Megan Rapinoe using her voice. And I mean, honestly, like I said, my criteria, and this is just my criteria, it's not me saying that this is how everyone has to be, but if you're going to make a statement, whether it's political or on some sort of topic, Sound like you know what you're talking about. I may not know because maybe I'm not familiar with what's the issue. Sound like you know what you're talking about and stand firm on it. And I think that's what Megan Rapinoe did. That's why I respect Megan Rapinoe. I may not agree to her views, but I respect that she's able to speak on it and sound like and I feel like she sounds like she knows what she's talking about. Christian Pulisic is just a kid. I mean, okay, like how old is he? Like 25, 26? Like, I mean, let me see. Let's see how old Christian Pulisic is. Christian Pulisic, he's 26 years old. Like, I don't care what a 26 year, and I'm 32, so I'm not any, I'm 6 years older than Christian Pulisic. But I don't care about, like, once again, this goes back to athletes. I just don't care about their views on political issues. They are not, their job isn't to be familiar with political issues. Their job is to play a game. And that may sound disrespectful. This isn't me saying shut up and dribble. That's not that. I'm just saying that if I'm watching a game and I see Christian Pulisic doing the Trump dance, my thoughts aren't, oh, he's a Trump supporter. No, it's just, oh, he's doing the Trump dance. Literally, that's all I took from that. I didn't think of anything else. I didn't think of anything less. I just thought this guy was doing a dance that has gotten trendy. That's all I thought. Because I frankly, once again, I don't care about political views. I don't care who you voted for. I can give a rat's ass who you voted for. I don't care if you're not happy with who got voted in. I don't, because at the end of the day, life goes on. You still gotta work. You still gotta pay your bills. You still gotta take care of yourself. That's what matters. Whoever has to sit in the White House isn't going to change that part of your life. You still gotta do what you gotta do to survive. And that's my point. And that's why I don't care of what celebrities or what athletes or as far as political nature goes. Like, I think it's cool for people to speak on issues. Once again, for me, they have to sound like the reason why I say for me, I need, like, not that I need, for me, I just hope that they're able to stand on what they're talking about because obviously, especially with the media, like any chance they get to make you look like an idiot, they'll do it. And that's why I say, like, be informative. Know how if you're going to talk about this issue, sound like you know what you're talking about, you know? Because once again, media is going to come at you. Similar to what happened with Colin Kaepernick, right? Because media kept asking him the same question over and over again about why he took a knee during the national anthem of like, what was the gain for it? And he kept saying like, of the racial abuse that, African Americans deal with the police. That's what he spoke on. And depending on how you feel, maybe you felt that he wasn't very well informed. Maybe you felt that he wasn't informed enough. But once again, they kept harping at him. They kept trying to catch him slipping, So that's what I mean by it. But like athletes, I don't care if you voted for Trump. I don't care if you voted for Kamala. I don't care. Because your job isn't to speak on political matters. Your job is to play a game, which is a great job. Nothing against that job. If there's a issue that you love, you're passionate about, and you want to speak about it, and you want to be the spokesperson for it, that's great too. But I'm saying that I am not looking at Christian Pulisic for his political opinion. I don't support Christian Pulisic because of his political views. I support Christian Pulisic because I feel like he is finally could potentially become a world-class player in the U.S. soccer sphere. That's where I like him for. I don't care about what he does in his personal life. I care about Christian Pulisic, the soccer player. That's what I care about. He could be a great guy. He could be a terrible human being. I don't know. I never met the guy. I just love how he plays on the field. That's what matters to me. Not that he did a dance. And once again, when I saw him do the dance, I just thought, oh, he's doing the trendy dance thing, like the new trendy dance to do when you make a big play. That's what I took from it. Just like the countless times people did the nay, people did, um, the gritty, which Christian Pulisic did the gritty. Once again, it's just the trend. If anything, that just perfectly sums up Christian Pulisic. The gritty was very popular, not that long ago. Christian Pulisic was doing the gritty. Now everyone's doing the Donald Trump dance. Christian Pulisic did the Donald Trump dance. He's just doing what's trendy. He's American. It's American culture, right? Like, I'm talking about an NFL player, a UFC fighter. They're Americans, right? They're doing an American trend. So American is gonna do. That's like when Charles Davies did the stanky leg. It's just the trendy thing. It's just what's trending. That's why they did it. It doesn't have to be political. Stop trying to make celebrities and athletes political figures. Just stop. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I'm sorry, it isn't. Ugh. All right, that's my TED Talk. All right, we're going to take a break, and then we'll go right into Liga MX playoffs.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan from No Credentials Required to talk to you about one of our newest partners at BellyUpSports, SeatGeek. Yeah, live sports is great on television, but the feeling of being at the arena is a priceless experience. That's why our friends at SeatGeek are there to help you find the best tickets at the best prices. Not only can you get tickets to sporting events, but you can also get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, musicals, and more. Search for your desired event now at SeatGeek.com, enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, and you save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets.
All right, guys. All right, before we get to the MLS, we'll talk about the Liga MX playoffs because that also kicks off this week. As a matter of fact, because it kicks off this week, that's one of the reasons, besides the fact that Thanksgiving is on Thursday, that we're also dropping this episode on Wednesday because the tournament does kick off on Wednesday. Technically, it was actually already happening because of the qualifying round, and I'll explain that when we get there. But Liga MX playoffs, it's also one of my favorite tournaments. Liga MX is a very entertaining league. People say it's kind of died down, but I kind of disagree. I think it's still a pretty fun league to watch. I think the passion from the fans, I know that can be taken however you want to take it at that point, but it's still a very enjoyable tournament, and I have a lot of fun watching it. But all right, so the rounds, how it's done, you have the top 6 teams that qualify automatically into the quarterfinals, and then the teams placed from 7th to 10th play in a play-in round, kind of copying the NBA, if you will. At this point, I've said all that I can say. This is now the third time that we're seeing this feature in the Liga MX playoffs. But the teams that are already qualified are first place Cruz Azul, second place Toluca, third place Tigres, fourth place Pumas, fifth place Monterrey, and sixth place Atlético San Luis, who has been quite the story this year in Liga MX. So those are the teams that qualified automatically. Now, the play-in round, which is to play for the 7th and 8th seed in the quarterfinals. So the teams that are qualified for the play-in round is 7th place Tijuana, 8th place Club America, 9th place Chivas de Guadalajara, and 10th place Atlas. So in the play-in round, they have the 7th and 8th seed play against each other. The winner of that round gets the 7th seed, and then the 10th and 9th seed play play together to see who they face against the loser of that first match that I mentioned, to decide who gets the 8th seed. So I've said plenty enough already as it is. Like, I don't necessarily like this format. I think it sucks, but we'll at this point it is what it is. But yeah, so the play-in round, we had AFC Club America beat Tijuana, 7 seed Tijuana, 2-2, and went because it drew 2-2, went to pens, and Tijuana ends up losing pens 3-2. America is gonna, once again, are just built for these kind of moments, and I guess not the best season for Club America, but I think nonetheless when you talk about playoffs, you feel like any team in that realm can be in discussion. But yeah, so they secured the 7th seed in the quarterfinals. So Atlas, the 10th seed, actually defeated inner city rival Chivas de Guadalajara 2-1. So, like I said, one of the rare, it's a rivalry game. So I think that was the interesting part of it all, seeing the rivalry game being played, and I think it was really cool. It was fun. People forget about the Chivas and Atlas rivalry, but it was a pretty good showing. I enjoyed it. So, like I said, the battle for the 8th seed matchup came down to 7th seed Tijuana and 10th place Atlas, which Tijuana showed why they're a higher seed as they defeated Atlas 3-0. Wasn't close. Game was pretty much over by first half. But now they secured the 8th seed, which could be an interesting position, and I'll talk about that when we get there. But here we are in the quarterfinals. So the first matchup is first place Cruz Azul taking on 7th seed Tijuana. I think, Cruz Azul, I think, has been very good this year, and obviously good year for them to finish in first place. But that is not a guarantee in this kind of tournament. Just because you're the best team doesn't mean that you're going to, win the whole thing. It's happened plenty of times in this tournament, and I'm sure it's not going to change anytime soon. But before we start making predictions here, I just want to see the statistics as far as how everything went. The leading goal scorer this year was from João Paulo Diaz of Toluca, who scored 13 goals. The best offensive team this year was Cruz Azul. The best defensive team was Cruz Azul, and the fair play team was Atlético San Luis. So yes, Cruz Azul is downright the best team this year. Best defense, best attack. So all around, probably the most balanced team going into this tournament, and respectively so because they're the first seed. Taking on Tijuana, who have now played 2 games. So now they're going into this. And if you guys aren't familiar with Liga MX, they do 2-leg matches from the quarterfinals all the way to the final. So the final is also a 2-leg match. If I were to make some changes, I would, one, get rid of this play-in round. But secondly, I would make the final an outright final, just a 1-game playoff. But and the only reason why I say that is because sometimes that first leg, it is, if you guys remember when Toluca played Pachuca, it was nowhere near close that Toluca could somehow find a way to come back against Pachuca. Pachuca just outright had the lead and never looked back. So I would think a one-off game could be a more fair version. But anyways, Tijuana having to take Cruz Azul, I think they've, one, they're going in already with tired legs because they've already played 2 matches in a short span of time. And they're going to play more games in an even shorter span of time. So it is not necessarily looking favorable for Tijuana, especially because you played on Sunday and now Wednesday you're playing another game. So it is definitely going to be daunting for Tijuana, and having to go up against, in my opinion, the best team this year in Cruz Azul. It's not easy. So I'm picking Cruz Azul outright. I think, once again, best defense and best attack. This team is balanced. This team is going to be a problem. And unfortunately, 7th seed Tijuana is the team that has to face them, even though they were higher than the AFC Club America. Would have been actually a fun matchup for Cruz Azul and America to play together, because obviously it's another inter-city rivalry, but the play-in round is the play-in round, so that's where we are. So I'm picking Cruz Azul to beat Tijuana. The next matchup is 2nd seed Toluca taking on AFC Club America, who is now the 7th seed. Just stay with me here. Toluca it's weird. Toluca's always all right. Toluca has looked good in the regular season, and I think they've taken a lot of strides to keep making this team better. Like, they're not the same team that got this completely embarrassed in the final a couple years ago. But I don't know, man. Toluca just is one of those teams that, like, you would argue is just not good enough to win the whole thing. Like, they clearly keep improving. They have the leading goal scorer in the competition. Um, like I said, they have good pieces, and I mean, Alexi Vega has honestly has done quite the turnaround for himself since coming back to Toluca after all things that went down with Chivas de Guadalajara. But then you're going against Club America, a team that once again, when you see them in this tournament, they're a problem. Just in general, the most successful team in this competition, and just in general, are just the best team in history of this tournament. And while I would like to see, like, even though I don't necessarily have like an affiliation to a Liga MX team, I mean, if probably a lot of my friends that know me from middle school know that I did rock with Toluca, and it was mainly because of Jose Cardoso, Vicente Sanchez, Paulo da Silva, Hernan Cristante. That team was the team I grew up watching. Because for me growing up, I didn't have like the Premier League or wasn't necessarily as accessible. MLS was kind of weird to like really get like us to be able to watch it, but I had Univision, and so I was able to watch Liga MX games, and watching Jose Cardozo and Vicente Sanchez and Paulo da Silva and Ciña, and it was a fun team to watch, so I always rooted for Toluca. I don't consider myself a Toluca fan only because, one, I don't really keep up with the team very well. Obviously because me being a Madrista and all that, but like it's just not a team that I necessarily try to follow very well. And like honestly, I enjoy watching Liga MX games in general, so I didn't want to like necessarily keep me in a bubble, but I do have a true soft spot for Toluca, and I want to see them do well because they're actually the third most successful team in Liga MX. Because I mean, like I said, that whole Cardozo era was just pinnacle for Toluca. But like, and I just don't know if they like. I'm sure they are clearly a good team, but once again, it's one of those things that just like when it comes down to it, can they come up in the big moments? And this is I would argue, a big moment. I think if you're Toluca, you would have hoped for Tijuana. And no, you got to go up against Club America. But I want to pick Toluca. I do. I honestly do want to pick them. Like I said, I have a soft spot for this team, but there's just something about Club America. Like that first leg is going to be in Azteca, so or is it in Azteca? I don't know. I know they said that there's some like modifications going on in Azteca, so I don't know if they're gonna play in Azteca. But like, if Toluca can make a statement in that first leg and then go to their home stadium in Toluca and continue on, I think Toluca could be a very dangerous team in this tournament. But once again, it's just that what if, like, but like it's not even the what if, it's the but like I'm not entirely sure if this team is good enough to get to that next part, if that makes any sense to anyone. But yeah, my heart says Toluca, but my brain says Club America, and that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to take Club America to move on to the next round. The next matchup is third place Tigres taking on sixth place Atlético San Luis, the fair play team of the tournament of the season. Similar to Club America, man, when it comes to playoff time, Tigres is just a different team. And I think that that's something that you need to consider. They're just meant for these moments, Same thing like Club America. They're just meant for these moments. Atlético San Luis has a great story. A team that kind of has been an afterthought for quite some time in Liga MX, and then, they have the season they have now, and I think I think a lot of people, if you don't have a team, you're gonna pull for Atlético San Luis just because of they're not your typical Liga MX team, and I think that that's something to point out. But I'm taking Tigres. I think Tigres, once again, they're just a team that goes far in this tournament. They just do. Whether it's the final or the semifinal, they go the distance in this tournament. So that's why I'm picking Tigres to move on to the semifinals. And then the final one is Pumas taking on Monterrey, two historical teams. But I think when it comes down to it, man, Monterrey, I'm picking pedigree right now. I'm literally that's really what I'm doing right now. I mean, Cruzzo doesn't really have pedigree, but they are the quote unquote best team. But I'm gonna go with Monterrey here. I think Monterrey to have that first game in Rayados, in the Rayados Stadium is going to be really big for them. That home crowd is a beast. And so I think Monterrey can get a strong first leg performance, and hope that I believe that will be more than enough to go to Mexico City where Pumas is, and at least either get a draw or just keep the score low enough that it still helps Monterrey's case to move on to the next round. So that is my predictions. Once the quarterfinals are done, I'll do more in depth, discuss, coverage of the matches, because right now there's no games to really talk about. But I mean, obviously the playing games, but I just don't really want to get in depth with that. But guys, if you guys don't watch Liga MX playoffs, I recommend you watch it. It is a fun tournament. It is very exciting. There is a lot of scoring. I will tell you that. I think maybe not the best defensively, but it is a really fun scoring league. So go check it out. It's a great tournament. But moving on, MLS Cup playoffs. So conference semifinals, aka the quarterfinals, are over. What did we learn? We learned that sometimes, honestly, what I learned from this one is forget everything that happened during the regular season, because these teams, well, except for one team, but for the rest of these teams, man, they completely ignored what happened during the regular season, because they are some of the teams that won look besides one look completely different from how they looked during the regular season. But we'll start things off with the Eastern Conference. We got the 7th seed Red Bull New York beating 6 seed NYCFC 2-0. NYCFC had 70% of the possession. NYCFC also outshot 26-9, 7 shots on target to Red Bull's 3 shots on target. The goals scored were all in the first half by Felipe Carballo Ares in the 16th minute and Dante Vanzier in the 24th minute. Look, Red Bull knew they had to come in fast. They scored the 2 goals and then just put in a solid defensive shift against this NYCFC attack, and they got the job done. Say what you want when it comes to these MLS playoffs, especially now that it's a one-off game. Just do what you need to do to get the win. That's all that matters. And I think Red Bull scored goals, defended well, things that you want to see for a team that you're hoping is going to contend for an MLS Cup. So if you're a Red Bulls fan, you should be completely ecstatic that you got to see this kind of performance from your team, and hope that it can continue on into the semifinal, aka the conference finals. So we'll see how that goes. We'll get to that later. And the other Eastern Conference matchup was 4th seed Orlando City SC beating the 9th seed Atlanta United. The Cinderella story ends here for Atlanta United after defeating Inter Miami. Like I said, Atlanta United at this point are riding on house money. Their season, you're talking about a season that, your coach gets fired. You lose your DP. You use your designated players in Yakamakis and Almada, and you didn't expect to go make it to the playoffs. You get in the playoffs. You had a very good wild card match, and then you go in and eliminate the best team in MLS history. So that is, impressive. But the other thing is, though, I predicted Orlando City SC to win the MLS Cup, and on their side of their story, they came into the season with a lot of expectations. Everyone was predicting Orlando to be a very good team this year. 4th seed is not. They were a very good team, but they started terribly. Just lost. Poor performance after poor performance after poor performance. Could have been a factor from them playing in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, but still did not look like what they were supposed to do. You bring in Luis Muriel, you bring in Nicolas Lodera to add more experience up to this very young attack that they have, this exciting attack that they have now. And you had your concerns. You didn't even think they would make the playoffs. They find their stride and they get in form, and then they finish in 4th place, and now they are the highest seed in the Eastern Conference. So now it goes to Orlando. Orlando beats Atlanta United 1-0. Atlanta had 51% of the possession, very 50-50 possessions. Orlando outshot Atlanta United 14-8. 4 shots were on target to Atlanta United 0. I think that just that's what it came down to. It is just that Atlanta United, I think their their carriage just turned into a pumpkin. It's just, they put everything in that Inter Miami matchup that when it came down to the next round, they just didn't have anything left. And the only goal that was scored was by Ramiro Enrique in the 39th minute. Like I said, just get the wins. Doesn't really matter how you get them. I mean, yes, at one point, the way you win these games it's going to need to be discussed. And I think both Red Bull New York and Orlando City, did what they needed to do, got the goals that they needed to get in, and defended as well as they could to make sure that nothing else came in the back of the net for them. And that's why they moved on. So I'd say that there's a lot of positive take from both teams. And like I said, their matchup is going to be very interesting to watch come this week. But before we get to that, to talk about that matchup, we got the Western Conference to go over to, and 4th seed Seattle Sounders beat the 1st seed LAFC. So no 1st seeds are in the tournament anymore, as the Seattle Sounders defeated Los Angeles 2-1. Seattle had 51% of the possession. LAFC outshot Seattle 27-13, 10-7 with the shots on target. The goals were scored by Rawling Hollinshead in the 50th minute mark. LAFC had unfortunately given up an own goal by Maxime Chanot in the 59th minute. And in extra time, Jordan Morris puts in the dagger to win it in the 109th minute. And Seattle moves on to the next round. Look, just like everybody else, I don't really want to see LAFC go to the MLS Cup. I don't want to see teams like that, prevail and all that. But LAFC has had are now being labeled as choke artists because of the fact that they've been in all these finals and, or crucial games, and only to come out empty-handed. Yes, they did win the US Open Cup. Don't take that away from them. But obviously they lost the MLS Cup final last year to Columbus Crew, and then lost to the Columbus Crew again in the Leagues Cup, whether you want to take that with a grain of salt if you want. But it just continues for them, right? They just continue to choke away these big moments for them. And I do want to say it's more of LAFC losing this game than it is Seattle winning it, because once again, I don't think Seattle, just similar to the Houston Dynamo series, they didn't necessarily play fairly well. It just happened. Things just happened to work out for them. And I think obviously similar to the Dynamo series, where they the Dynamo gave up 2 stupid red cards, which, I mean, in that moment you should be able to capitalize on it, but they didn't. Both games went to penalties, and that's where they won, was penalties, where anything can happen. So no, I don't think Seattle is good by any means. I don't think this team is good. I don't think they just gotten very lucky from this point on. There wouldn't have been extra time if it wasn't for Maxime Chanot. If Maxime Chanot did not give up that own goal, LAFC would be moving on and hosting the conference final. But they're not, because of that own goal. So it wasn't that Seattle outright won the game. And I mean, yes, I know I said throughout this that you just got to find ways to win games, and it doesn't matter how you win them, you just got to win them. But Seattle didn't win this game. LAFC gave it away. And I mean, the Jordan Morris goal, you can argue, was probably another one where it was just they got the defense slipping, and Jordan Morris honestly, I could say it could have gone either way, that shot, and he got it where Hugo Lloris couldn't get to it, and that's why he scored a goal. So I'm not taking away that Jordan Morris goal. I think Seattle, for them to stay resilient as they did throughout the game, but I'm just saying there wouldn't have been an extra time had Maxime Chanot put in that own goal. So I don't think Seattle is necessarily good by any means. And when it comes to the MLS, doesn't matter how you win, it's just that you win and you move on. And so Seattle, regardless, I guess if you're Seattle, you might as well just stay put in LA, because moving into the next game, 2nd seed Los Angeles Galaxy beats 6th seed Minnesota United 6-2. This was obviously the biggest score, goal scored in this game, where you had not one, not two, not three, but 4 players scoring 2 goals in these games. But yeah, so the LA Galaxy had 74% of possession, clearly, because once again, kind of how we mentioned in Wake Up MLS, the LA Galaxy is the best team in the MLS Cup right now. Even maybe you can argue when Inter Miami was still there, but as of right now, the LA Galaxy is the best team in the MLS Cup. But LA Galaxy had 74% of possession. LA Galaxy outshot Minnesota 17-12, 10-6 with shots on target. There was a red card in this game. It was by Jefferson Diaz in the 82nd minute mark. So there are some goals that happened after that. But I don't. At this point, that game was fairly much over. But the 4 doubles today was from Gabriel Peck, who scored the opening goal in less than a minute, and also scored in the 50th minute mark. Kelvin Yaboya, who scored in the 6th minute and then scored before halftime with a penalty in the 45th and kind of going into stoppage time. Dejan Jovlic, who scored in the 18th minute and the 89th minute, and Joseph Paintsel, who scored in the 37th minute and the 86th minute mark. I mean, props to Kelvin Yaboya. I think obviously trying to keep them in. First of all, his goal out of all the goals was probably the best goal of that whole game. But still, you don't get bonus points for a cool goal. But Gabriel Peck, Dejan Jolovic, and Joseph Paintsel have just been nothing but amazing options for Ricky Puig. Ricky Puig, once again, able to just get the balls around, get his passes to his targets, and these guys are able to feed off of that. And that's exactly what we saw in this game. I think LA Galaxy is a very, very dangerous team, should be the odds-on favorite now to win the MLS Cup, which is crazy to think that when last year this team was literally at the bottom of the barrel. Maybe not the bottom of the barrel, but definitely were bottom feeders last year. And that just, one props to LA Galaxy's scouting team and general manager to, figure out what they needed, identify what they needed to improve the team. I mean, Gabriel Peck and Paintsel, I believe, are the 2 of the additions that came from this season. But also, Greg Vanney, man, I mean, what a turnaround! Should probably have gotten a shout for Coach of the Year, and this is literally one of the things that you won't see in any other sport is a team that was literally god awful one year and then right now the best team. You're not going to get that anywhere else. I guarantee you're not going to get anything like that in any of the league, because I'm sure everyone thought that Inter Miami would be still here, and they're not. And so that's what I got to say about that. But all right, conference finals, aka the semifinals, for those of you who don't necessarily understand American sports. In the Eastern Conference, we got 4th seed Orlando City hosting the 7th seed Red Bull New York. I think the at least what to take away from that first leg from the quarterfinals is that both teams scored their goals and did what they needed to do to hold those leads. Whether it was a 2-goal lead for Red Bull New York against NYCFC, or was that 1-0 win for Orlando City SC. I think both teams are very formidable. I think both teams could easily get their chance at representing the Eastern Conference in the MLS Cup. But one of them can only go. It is in Orlando. I think home field advantage is going to be very crucial for them. Obviously, Orlando has all the vibes right now, especially now that the Orlando Pride won the NWSL Cup. So they want to go for that, the double over there in Orlando. Especially when the Pride won their first NWSL Cup. I'm sure Orlando City would love to also be able to go in and win their first MLS Cup. So I think that's there's a lot of pressure on Orlando. But you feel the determination for this team. I think that defensively have gotten better each game that I've watched them in. And Yeah, I think once again their attack is also really interesting with Enrique and Facundo Torres, and Angulo. I think this team is really good. That's why everyone thought that this team would win an MLS Cup, and why I was so brash about them winning an MLS Cup. Um, I mean, I gotta say, with my bias, I have to pick Orlando. I think Orlando does have a really good team. I think Red Bull New York also have improved. I think defensively have gotten significantly better as well. Their attack is also very lethal. It's going to come down to the finite details, and that is whose defense is better than the other. I trust Orlando's defense a little bit more than I do Red Bull New York's, and that's why I'm going with Orlando City to move on to the MLS Cup final. Also, the fact that I also predicted this team to win from the before the season even started. So that's also the other reason why. All right, in the Western Conference, we've got second seed Los Angeles Galaxy, the highest seed, taking on fourth seed Seattle Sounders. So if LA Galaxy wins this, the MLS Cup final will be in Carson, California. Now, I'm guessing if Seattle wins it, then Orlando would be hosting it. So in hindsight, Orlando would probably be, if Orlando does win their game, they would probably be rooting for Seattle Sounders to win the Western Conference matchup. But obviously, I don't think it's gonna happen. I said it. I just don't think Seattle's that good. I don't necessarily watch them, and I haven't been impressed by anything that they did in the round one matchup against the Dynamo. And y'all can say that I'm being petty, but like I even said, Dynamo were terrible in that game too. But I would also argue that the Dynamo were the better team on the field than the Seattle Sounders. The only reason why the Dynamo lost was because of red cards. And you can argue for LAFC. I think LAFC was the better team on the field. It went down to an own goal that took them to extra time, and that's where Jordan Morris had his moment. So I don't think Seattle Sounders are that good, and you're going up against probably the most potent attack possible in the LA Galaxy, especially now where they're coming off of now. Ricky Puig has got these Greg Vanny and Ricky Puig has this team moving in the right direction, are firing on all cylinders. And while I do give props to Seattle's defense, the attacking is the only concern for me. Which, I mean, if you're an LA Galaxy fan, you probably are familiar with how wishy-washy can be the backline for the Galaxy. But I mean, and then I mean, even in, mind you, yes, they scored 6 goals, but they also gave up 2. And I mean, that's got to be at least somewhat concerning if you are like, I mean, I'm sure for the Galaxy, the best defense is a good offense, which it has clearly been working for them. But you want to be able to have some sort of shutdown performance defensively. And if you do in the Western Conference Final, I think kind of similar how people feel about Cruz Azul in Liga MX being the best offense and the best defense in the league. Going into the MLS Cup, if LA Galaxy can have a show out of brilliance in the attack, but also a lockdown performance defensively, you would say that LA Galaxy should, without a doubt, win the MLS Cup. I'm picking LA Galaxy to win it. I don't think Seattle Sounders are good. It's impressive that they got here somehow. I'm not mad. I'm impressed. But the Seattle Sounders are not a good team. The LA Galaxy are a good team. And I think that it's going to be very clear. And I mean, say what you want about LAFC. LAFC, yes, is also a good team, but there has been so much questions on this team. It hasn't been a very solidified, oh, this team's good. It's always been, this team is good with a question mark. Whereas the LA Galaxy, there has been no doubts about the LA Galaxy. And so that is my prediction. The final, if things go the way I want, the final is going to be Orlando City taking on the LA Galaxy, which don't think Orlando's going to win that MLS Cup. But hey, anything can happen. Or maybe Seattle can somehow find a way to win it, and Orlando gets to host the MLS Cup. So that we can see what happens there. But that is the MLS Cup. All right, players of the week. We got Edwards player of the week is James Maddison, who scored 2 goals in Tottenham's 4-0 win against Manchester City. I can't be too mad about this one just because of the fact that they did do it on Manchester City. So as an Arsenal supporter, that does help me out a little bit. So yeah, props to James Maddison. And my player of the week is Harry Kane, who scores a hat trick in Bayern Munich's 3-0 performance against FC Augsburg. So congratulations to James Madison and Harry Kane for being our players of the week, which is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an amazing ticketing site application, depending on how you use it. It has a very easy grading system when it comes to tickets. We're using colors. If it's red, that means it's a terrible deal for those seats. Go look elsewhere on the site. If it's green, that means these are a great deal for these seats that you're about to buy. Go ahead and buy them. You'll enjoy it. SeatGeek offers all this kind of service for numerous types of events, whether it's sports, concerts, theater, comedy shows. If it's a live event, SeatGeek probably has it for you there. So if you guys go to SeatGeek.com and you guys like the simplicity of SeatGeek, but you want to make things a little bit sweeter, well, if you're a first-time purchaser, you'll save $20 off if you use the code BellyUpSports at checkout. Once again, use that code BellyUpSports. Save yourself $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek.com. SeatGeek, life's an event. We had the tickets. So congratulations, James Madison and Harry Kane. These are actually going to be our final set of players of the weeks. We're now, like I said, on our post for players of the week, there is a link on those posts. Click on that link, and it will show all the players of the week winners that we have had this year. You can give them an extra vote. That extra vote does help them towards the 2024 Roosevelt Spencer Player of the Year award, which we will announce at our end of the year episode. So if you guys want to have boost your favorite players' odds, well, go over there, click on that link, and vote for your players of the week. Like I said, this will be the final one because obviously we're going into December and we're going near our end of the year episode. So make sure you guys go ahead and vote for your player of the week. But all right, congratulations, James Madison and Harry Kane, for being our players of the week. And we're going to go ahead and segue into games to watch.
Fight and win!
All right, guys, we got some games to watch this weekend. We got the MLS Cup playoffs. The conference finals, the semifinals are set. So, Orlando City SC versus Red Bull New York, and the Seattle Sounders taking on the LA Galaxy. So let's get ready for that. We got a Women's International break also going on this weekend. We got USA taking on England, very juicy matchup, and of course Liga MX playoffs happening this weekend as well. In Liga, we got Stade de Reims taking on RC Lens, and Marseille taking on AS Monaco. In the Bundesliga, we got FC Union Berlin taking on Bayer Leverkusen, and their classer, Borussia Dortmund, taking on Bayern Munich. In the Serie A, we got Fiorentina versus Inter Milan and Torino versus Napoli. In La Liga, we got Alaves taking on Celta Vigo and Real Sociedad taking on Real Betis. In the Premier League, we got Chelsea versus Aston Villa and Liverpool versus Manchester City. So, I don't know who I'm rooting for here. I'm kind of hoping for a draw. So, there is that. But obviously, not all the games happening this weekend. But if you guys want a good beginner's guide, there you go, man. So, we'll go ahead and take one more break and then wrap this show up in a pretty little bow.
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of BellyUpSports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at RighteousFelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to episode 196. My bad. Give a shout out to the Belly Up Podcast Network, man. Check out their website, BellyUpSports.com. Lots of great articles constantly being written about all sports across the U.S., football, basketball, baseball. We're kind of near the home stretch of the NFL. Once Thanksgiving's over, things are gonna feel a lot quicker. Especially right now, I'm not feeling great. Houston Texans lost to the stupid Tennessee Titans, so not in a great mood, but still push through. But yeah, check out BellyUpSports.com and see all the articles that are being written all across the world of sports here in the U.S. Also, check out Nick Gable and all the things that he writes about in the world of soccer. Check out BellyUp TV. Oh, not BellyUp TV. That's Oof, that's not a thing anymore. Check out BellyUp's Instagram and X at BellyUp Media and at BellyUp Sports. Check out BellyUp Media, by the way. Lots of great podcasts there over there. Corner Booth Pod, High Low Sports with Kelsey. You guys know him. 1420 podcast, Time to BS, like a lot of great podcast, craft brew podcast. So lots of great podcasts there. Check them out once again on Instagram and X at BellyUp Media and at BellyUp Sports, so you can see all the great creators over there at BellyUp. Speaking of creators, check out GolzTV, man. GOZ.TV. Your hub of soccer content made here in the U.S. and actually some international. So check them out on Instagram at GOLZ.TV. Once again, GOLZ.TV, Goals.TV on Instagram, and on the X at GOLZ_TV. Once again, GOLZ_TV on the X. So check those guys out. You'll see me on their MLS show, Wake Up MLS. And maybe I try to make my return to Yanks the Roundtable. Maybe I'll see what I can do. Shout out to Roosevelt Spencer, man. If you guys hear the intros and outros for this podcast, then you very much know that is all Roosevelt Spencer. He is the namesake of the Roosevelt Spencer Player of the Year award that we are actually near the tail end of it. So of getting ready to find out who our winner is going to be. But yes. And so shout out to Roosevelt Spencer. If you guys want more if you guys need beats done, follow him on Instagram at That Guy Dope. Once again, at That Guy Dope at THATGUIDOPE. If you guys need some beat work done, go ahead and hit him up. He'll take great care of you like he always does with us. But all right. Oh, also quick update. Remember, this is essentially the last week to enter the jersey giveaway. So, it's literally our pinned post on all our social media, but once again, to reiterate, you have to follow us on the X at InsertNameFC. 2, like and repost the jersey giveaway post. And if you guys want an extra name in the raffle, you just have to post a screenshot on the comment of that post, a screenshot of another social media platform that you follow us on. So that's all you have to do. So if you guys do it this week, because we are going to announce the winner next week. We will be announcing the winner. So make sure you guys go right into it, man. So thank you so much. Catch us next week for episode 197. Also, I hope everyone has a very happy Thanksgiving here in the U.S. If you guys aren't from the U.S., well, happy Thanksgiving to you too. I'm very grateful and thankful for all the successes so far this podcast has, and hope to have more success. And, thank you to BellyUpSports and thank you to GolzTV for, believing in what we do here. And hopefully one day we can give you guys the big payoff of what this podcast is capable of. But thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving. Take care, guys.